Welcome to the History Stories podcast. Are you ready for a truly wild ride?
Always. Let's do it.
Excellent. Today, we're hitting the road, taking a historic road trip to Circleville, Ohio.
Circleville. Sounds charming.
It does, doesn't it? Just your typical quiet small town, right? Well, not exactly. See, under the surface of Circleville lies this deeply bizarre and honestly terrifying mystery.
Oh, I love a good mystery. What's this one all about?
Well, you know how you shared those history books and uncovered sources with us?
Yeah, always digging through those. What did you find?
They detailed the chilling case of the Circleville letter writer, a phantom who basically held the town hostage for, get this, almost 2 decades.
Seriously, that's a long time to torment a town. Anonymous letters, I'm assuming?
Oh, you better believe it. Anonymous threats, suspicious death, a booby trap straight out of a movie, a really controversial conviction. And the craziest part, the letters didn't stop even after they locked up the supposed culprit.
Okay, that's just getting creepy. Now I'm hooked. Let's rewind a bit. Set the scene for us. Where does this whole thing begin?
So, picture Circleville in the mid-1970s, a close-knit community, the kind where everyone knows everyone else's business. No internet, no instant messaging, handwritten letters. Those meant something back then.
Right, they had weight. A personal threat you just don't get with a text message.
Exactly, and that's precisely what the letter writer used against them. Weaponized intimacy, turned that small-town closeness into a total nightmare.
I bet. So who were the first victims of this letter-writing fiend?
It all kicked off, at least that's what we can tell from the records, in late 1976, maybe early 1977. The first victims were Mary Gillespie, a school bus driver, and Gordon Massey, the school superintendent.
Okay, so right off the bat, someone in a position of authority. What was the dirt? What did the letters accuse them of?
An affair, of course, the classic small-town scandal. But these weren't just your run-of-the-mill gossipy notes. These were direct, mean-spirited, and threatening right out of the gate.
You said there were some particularly chilling examples in those sources. Anything that really jumps out?
One sent straight to Mary Gillespie was bone-chilling. It said, and I quote, "Stay away from Massey. Don't lie when questioned about meeting him. I know where you live. I've been observing your house and know you have children. This no joke. Please take it serious. Everyone concerned has been notified. It will be over soon."
Wow. Okay, right from the get-go. This is creepy. Observing her house, mentioning her kids, that's some seriously messed up stuff.
And they didn't let up on Massey either. Sent him letters demanding he confess to the school board. Imagine the pressure. But get this, they used Massey's home address, 550 Ridgewood, Circleville, as the return address on a letter they sent to his work.
Talk about psychological warfare. That's deliberately designed to make him feel watched, like someone's always got their eye on him.
It gets worse. They didn't just target Mary and Gordon, Mary's husband, Ron Gillespie. He started getting letters too, but these were different. They were trying to push him to violence.
Really? Like, what kind of things were they saying?
Things like, "You should catch them together and kill them both. He doesn't deserve to live." Another one flat out told Ron his life was in danger if he didn't do something about it. It's messed up.
So not just trying to ruin reputations, but actively trying to incite violence. What was the motive here? Were they trying to create a tragedy to pin on someone, or just sow chaos?
No, all the letters were postmarked from Columbus, which is about 30 miles north of Circleville.
That's interesting. Almost like they're trying to create distance or maybe throw off the investigation. Maybe they're not even from Circleville.
And the handwriting, always this distinctive block lettering. Almost certainly disguised. They knew what they were doing.
Clearly. So it starts with these three, but you said this thing snowballed. How so?
This was just the beginning. Those first letters, it was like they were testing the waters. Then it was like a dam broke. The letters started flooding the whole town.
Who else did they target? What kind of things were they saying?
Everyone, it seemed like. Residents, businesses, officials, schools, even the sheriff's department got these letters. The accusations got wilder, too.
Really? So not just about the affair anymore.
Nope. Everything from corruption and embezzlement to domestic violence and even murder accusations. They wrote that they knew everything about everyone and knew everybody's secrets. It was like living in a town-wide paranoia petri dish.
Ugh, I can't even imagine. So it wasn't enough to stir up trouble. They wanted everyone looking over their shoulder, wondering who's got the goods on them.
And the worst part is, it worked. The entire town was terrified. And this was just the letters. It escalated from there.
How so? What else did they do?
Think offensive signs popping up along Mary Gillespie's bus route. Crude stuff, really personal. And it got so bad that Ron started patrolling the route every morning, taking them down before the kids saw them.
They were really going after her. This wasn't just about exposing an affair anymore. It was malicious.
It gets worse. Harassing phone calls started too. The Gillespies couldn't catch a break. This writer was relentless.
Sounds like they were getting bolder, feeding off the fear they were creating. And then things took a really dark turn. Ron Gillespie dies. August 19th, 1977. What happened?
Mary was out of town. Reddit told her he thought he knew who the writer was and was going to confront them.
Okay, that's huge. Ron's thinking he's close to unmasking this phantom. Adds a whole other level of intrigue to what happens next.
That night, Ron gets a phone call. A call many believe was from the letter writer. Something about it sent him into a rage. He grabbed his .22 revolver, told his daughter he was going to confront the writer, and sped off in his truck.
What happened? Did he find them?
He crashed into a tree at an intersection he drove through all the time, died instantly.
Oh man, a tragic accident.
That's what the official ruling was, but there were some really suspicious details.
Like what? What doesn't add up?
His revolver was found under his body, 1 shot fired. His blood alcohol content was 0.16%, way over the limit. But everyone who knew Ron said he was a light drinker. And of course, the letter writer had threatened Ron's life before.
Okay, lots of red flags there. The gun, the high BAC, the prior threats. Ron's brother-in-law, Paul Freshour, suspected foul play, right?
He sure did. He thought Ron was murdered and urged the sheriff to investigate further, but Sheriff Radcliffe stuck with the accident ruling.
That's got to be frustrating. It sounds like that ambiguity really hung over the case.
Oh, it definitely did. It fueled all sorts of rumors, theories about murder and cover-ups. That unresolved question about Ron's death added fuel to the fire.
And what about the letters? Did they stop after Ron died?
Nope. They kept coming, even after Ron's death. The writer continued to torment Mary and Gordon, sometimes even blaming them for Ron's death.
That's cold. So what about the affair? Was there any truth to those initial accusations?
Mary eventually admitted to a relationship with Massey, but insisted it started after Ron died.
But even that wasn't enough to stop the letters.
Nope. It seemed to make the writer focus even more on Mary, now including threats towards her daughter. Truly sick stuff.
Things were already bad, but this takes it to a whole new level. Targeting a child is just beyond the pale.
And this brings us to a turning point in the case, February 7, 1983. This is where it goes from letters and phone calls to something much more tangible and dangerous.
Okay, what happened in 83?
Mary finds a sign, a handmade sign with a disgusting message about her daughter, attached to a fence along 5 Points Pike.
Oh, wow. So they're escalating from words to actions.
As she went to pull it down, she saw twine leading to a small box hidden nearby. Inside, a loaded .25 caliber pistol rigged to fire when the sign was moved. It was a booby trap meant to kill.
Holy crap, that's attempted murder. Thankfully, it didn't go off.
It malfunctioned, pure luck. But this gave investigators something they didn't have before. The gun.
A physical piece of evidence. Finally. So what did they do with it?
The serial number was partially filed off, but the Ohio BCI, the state crime lab, managed to recover the numbers. And guess where the trace led them?
I have a feeling I know this. Not Paul Freshour.
Paul Freshour, the same guy who thought his brother-in-law was murdered, is now the prime suspect in trying to kill his sister-in-law.
Talk about a plot twist. So, the grieving brother-in-law becomes public enemy number 1. What was Circleville's reaction to all this?
Imagine the shockwaves. Freshour was a manager at Anheuser-Busch, no criminal record. He'd even been part of the early attempts to unmask the letter writer.
So this wasn't some obvious villain lurking in the shadows. But let's step back for a minute. The letter writer, they basically terrorized Circleville for years. What was the impact on the town as a whole?
It wasn't just the targets, it was the whole community that suffered. Imagine living with the constant fear of getting one of those letters, your secrets, real or imagined, exposed for everyone to see.
A climate of suspicion and paranoia, right? Nobody knows who to trust. Everyone's looking over their shoulder.
It totally eroded the social fabric of the town. People withdrew, stopped talking to each other, afraid of what might get back to the letter writer.
It's like they weaponized that small-town closeness, turned it into a tool for control.
The whole town was basically held hostage. It shows how powerful anonymous malice can be, especially in a place where everyone knows everyone.
So what about the official response? We talked about the botched investigation into Ron's death. What about the letter writer? Were they doing anything to stop this person?
Early on, Sheriff Radcliffe's office tried phone taps and other stuff, but nothing panned out. The quick accident ruling in Ron's death got a lot of criticism. People thought they were covering something up.
Protecting the town's image, maybe. Or something more sinister.
And the letter writer even started accusing Radcliffe in their letters. Added another layer to the whole thing.
Wow, taking on the sheriff directly. Bold move.
Then the booby trap happened. That got the media's attention. Local papers, the Circleville Herald, the Columbus Dispatch, they all started covering it. That's when it really blew up.
So this small-town mystery becomes national news.
And it hasn't really faded from memory since. It's still discussed in true crime circles. This dark chapter in Circleville's history, a reminder of the terror and the unanswered questions.
Speaking of unanswered questions, let's get back to Paul Freshour. What was the case against him? We know about the gun, but what else did they have?
They never actually caught him planting the booby trap. Most of the evidence was circumstantial. His alibi was that he was home doing repairs, and he had witnesses to back him up.
But they didn't buy it.
Not the jury. Karen Sue, his estranged wife, testified against him. Said he hated Mary and she'd found torn-up letters at home that she thought he wrote.
But she couldn't produce those letters. Sounds like a flimsy accusation, given their messy divorce.
The defense definitely questioned her motives. There was a custody battle going on, which he'd won, and she was living with Mary at the time.
So, a lot of potential for bias there.
Yeah.
What else did the prosecution have?
Handwriting analysis was a big part of their case. Sheriff Radcliffe had Freshour copy existing letters to compare.
That's a pretty questionable method, isn't it? Asking him to mimic the handwriting.
Experts have criticized it, but the prosecution's document examiners said the writing could be or was likely Freshour's. They also compared it to his work personnel file.
So, not a slam dunk. What about a polygraph? Did he take one?
He did, and he failed. But those are controversial, not always admissible in court.
Right. Lots of debate about their reliability. Anything else tying him to the booby trap?
He'd taken the day off work when it was planted. And the chalk box used in the trap was supposedly a common item at his workplace. Circumstantial, but it added to their case.
Okay, so they had the gun, the wife's testimony, the handwriting, and some circumstantial stuff. But his defense, was it purely based on his alibi?
Well, they hammered on the lack of physical evidence. No fingerprints on the gun, the box, nothing. And then there's the El Camino witness.
The what now? Who's the El Camino witness?
Another school bus driver said they saw a suspicious man with sandy hair, not Freshour, near a yellow-orange El Camino at the trap location about 20 minutes before Mary found it.
Now that's interesting. A witness placing someone else at the scene right before the booby trap was found. What did the police do with that information?
This is the frustrating part. They basically ignored it, didn't follow up on the lead.
Are you kidding me? Why not?
Yeah.
That could have blown the whole case wide open.
No one knows why they didn't investigate it properly. It's one of the big mysteries of the case.
So, despite the lack of direct evidence, the questionable handwriting analysis, and this ignored witness, they still convicted Freshour.
In October 1983, guilty of attempted murder. They didn't charge him with the letters, but they used them to establish motive. Sentenced him to 7 to 25 years.
Wow. And he always maintained his innocence.
Until the day he died. He always said he was framed. But here's where it gets really strange. Ready for another twist?
Hit me with it.
The letters didn't stop after he went to prison. Hundreds more. Same handwriting, same Columbus postmark.
Wait, what? How is that even possible? He's locked up.
That's what everyone thought. Sheriff Radcliffe kept complaining to the prison. They put Freshour in solitary, denied him pens and paper, strip searched him. Still, the letters kept coming.
This is next level stuff. Did they ever figure out how he was doing it?
The warden of the prison, in Lima, Ohio, mind you, became convinced that Freshour couldn't be sending them. He did his own investigation, even wrote to Freshour's wife saying it was impossible.
So even the warden thought he was innocent. That's huge.
And there's more. Freshour actually got a letter from the writer while he was inside. This was after he was denied parole, partly because of the letters.
You've got to be kidding me. He was being harassed by his supposed alter ego.
The letter taunted him, said, "Now when are you going to believe you aren't going to get out of there? I told you 2 years ago, when we set 'em up, they stay set up. Don't you listen at all."
When we set him up. That's practically a confession.
And then the final kicker. The letters finally stopped around 1994.
The same year Freshour got out of prison.
Exactly. The timing is just too perfect.
This whole thing is a giant question mark. So what are the theories? Who is really behind those letters?
Let's start with the official one, even though it's pretty shaky. Paul Freshour, acting alone. They had the gun, his wife's testimony, and the handwriting analysis, though that was controversial. Plus, there were claims his fingerprints were on some prison letters.
But the warden said that was impossible. And that letter he got in prison, it screams framed. And what about the El Camino witness? They never followed up on that.
Right, there are tons of holes in that theory. What if he had an accomplice? Someone on the outside sending the letters for him?
It would explain how the letters kept coming from prison. But who was this accomplice? And how come they never found any evidence of this partnership? Plus, it doesn't explain the taunting letter Fresh Hour received.
What about Karen Sue, his ex-wife? She had motive, she could have gotten the gun, and she was living with Mary. Plus, her brother owned an El Camino.
Lots of circumstantial stuff. But the police never seriously considered her a suspect, and she couldn't back up her claims about finding letters at home.
Then there's Mary's initial suspect, David Longberry, the other bus driver. The letters briefly stopped after they confronted him.
But they started again, and it's a stretch to think he orchestrated the whole thing, including the prison letters.
Right. What about the El Camino witness themselves? Could they be the writer?
That's a good question. They were there, they had a potential connection to Karen Sue through the car, but their identity is still a mystery because the police never bothered to track them down.
There's also the theory of multiple writers, a conspiracy within the town. It would explain the volume and the long time frame.
But proving coordination between multiple people would be near impossible, and we still wouldn't know who they were or why they did it.
The serial killer, Thomas Lee Dillon, claimed responsibility in a letter, and he did have a history of writing to people.
But the timing doesn't work out for the whole span of the Circleville letters, and authorities couldn't link him conclusively.
And finally, there's Dwight L. Bowman, the former school superintendent who was fired. Maybe he had a grudge.
That theory came up much later, and there's not much evidence to support it. It feels like a case of grasping at straws.
The fact that we have all these theories just shows how many holes there are in the official story. The prison letters, in particular, are a huge problem for the idea that Fresh Hour did it all alone.
It's a mess, and a testament to how a bad investigation can muddy the waters and create a breeding ground for speculation.
So, after all these years, we still don't know for sure who the Circleville letter writer was. Fresh Hour went to his grave proclaiming his innocence, and the letters conveniently stopped when he got out of prison.
It's like something out of a horror movie. This anonymous figure, pulling strings, ruining lives, and seemingly untouchable.
The story has fascinated people for decades. It's been on Unsolved Mysteries. They even got a threatening postcard from the writer. 48 Hours has covered it multiple times.
And true crime podcasts have had a field day with it. Case File True Crime, Crime Junkie, Morbid, tons of them.
It's that mix of small-town secrets, anonymous threats, the suspicious death, the booby trap, the prison letters. People can't resist a good mystery, especially one as twisted as this.
And it taps into some primal fears, right? The fear of being watched, of having your secrets exposed, of someone with a grudge targeting you from the shadows.
The writer's anonymity and their apparent knowledge of everyone's business, that's what makes it truly chilling. And it makes you think, could something like this happen anywhere, even in your own seemingly peaceful town?
Now you've got me looking over my shoulder. So what are some of the lesser-known details about the case? Anything that didn't make the headlines, but adds to the intrigue?
Well, the exact timeline is a little fuzzy. Some sources mention letters circulating as early as late 1976, before the official start of the campaign. And remember, Mary's initial suspect, David Longberry.
Yeah, the other bus driver. What about him?
They actually confronted him, wrote him a warning, and the letters briefly stopped.
Another missed opportunity for the investigators. What else?
Mary denied the affair with Massey while Ryan was alive, but admitted it after his death, said it started after the letters began.
So either she was lying initially, or the letter writer was just spreading rumors that later became true.
The writer used some really messed up tactics. They used Massey's home address as the return address on a letter to his work, even accused the coroner of child abuse.
Wow. Hitting below the belt. This wasn't just about revenge or exposing secrets. It was about destroying people.
After his arrest, Fresh Hour checked himself into a mental hospital. They were considering an insanity plea, but they didn't go through with it.
That's interesting. And what about after he got out of prison? Did he just fade into obscurity?
He spent years trying to clear his name, compiled a 162-page document laying out his case, and sent it to the FBI. Tragically, his son committed suicide in 2020, and some speculate it was connected to the case, all the pressure and scrutiny.
A sad postscript to an already tragic story. You said there were some chilling quotes from those involved.
Fresh Hour, talking about the handwriting test, said he would give me an actual letter and ask me maybe to do the envelope part just as near as I could to the envelope, and I did them because I knew I wasn't responsible for the letters.
Still so adamant, even years later.
After the guilty verdict, he said, I can't blame the jury because the jury didn't hear all the evidence that I wanted them to hear, but I just couldn't believe it. I was really in shock.
Understandable. And years before all this, he made a chilling prediction. He said, when I'm dead and in my grave, people are going to believe I'm sending those letters.
Talk about foreshadowing. And then there's that statement from the prison warden, flat out saying it was impossible for Fresh Hour to be sending letters from prison.
So many loose ends, so many things that just don't add up. What about the overlooked evidence, the stuff that maybe could have changed everything?
The El Camino witness is the big one. Why didn't they investigate that lead? We also don't know the details of Ron's final phone call, who called, what was said that made him so angry.
And what about the fingerprints on the prison letters? Some say they found Fresh Hour's prints, but that contradicts the warden's statement. Something's not right there.
And then there's the question of the original case files. Where are they now? Are they accessible? That could be key to finally unraveling this whole thing.
It's like a giant puzzle with half the pieces missing. Just to recap, let's go through the timeline one more time.
Letters start appearing late 1976, early 1977. Ron Gillespie dies August 19th, 1977. The letters continue. February 7th, 1983, the booby trap is discovered. October 1983, Fresh Hour is convicted.
And the letters keep coming from prison until 1994 when Fresh Hour is released. Unsolved Mysteries gets their threatening postcard in 1993.
Fresh Hour dies in 2012, still maintaining his innocence. And in 2021, 48 Hours airs their new segment with the handwriting analysis. It's a tangled web, for sure.
So for listeners who want to dig deeper into this mystery, what are some resources they can check out?
Definitely check out those episodes of Unsolved Mysteries in 48 Hours that we mentioned. And there are tons of great true crime podcasts that cover the Circleville letter writer, case file true crime, crime junkie, morbid, criminology, true crime, all the time unsolved, unresolved, even one called Whatever Remains for a local perspective.
For online stuff, check out reputable news sources like CBS News, Unsolved.com, and even Mental Floss for a good overview.
If you want to hear Fresh Hour's side of the story, his blog is at circlevilleletters.wordpress.com. But remember, it's his perspective, so take it with a grain of salt.
And while there's no definitive book on the case, you can find more information in books by journalists like Martin Yant and Robin Yoakum, and authors like James Renner.
For the hardcore researchers, try digging into the archives of the Pickaway County Sheriff's Office, the Ohio BCI local courts, and newspapers from the time.
A word of caution about online forums like Reddit. They can be great for theories and discussions, but not always the most reliable source of information.
The Circleville letter writer case remains this unsolved, incredibly unsettling puzzle. We've covered the main events, the theories, the strange details, but the big questions remain. Who is behind it all? Why did the letters continue from prison?
And what does it tell us about small-town secrets, the abuse of power, and the long shadow of fear?
What struck you the most about this story? What questions are still bouncing around in your head? This historic road trip reminds us that sometimes the most frightening stories are the ones that happen in real life.
And that the truth can be elusive even in the age of information.
We encourage you to keep digging, explore the resources, and see if you can crack this mystery. Thank you for joining us on this journey to Circleville.
Until next time, stay curious and maybe keep an eye on your mailbox.
And tune in next time for more fascinating and sometimes unbelievable stories from the world of Flash culture.